Hey, welcome back. And I don't want you to get confused with your discounted cash flow and NPV and all these things. And what I'm about to tell you now will make these things a lot clearer to you. So look at this return. If you were thinking whether you invest into this investment opportunity or you go and get an alternative return somewhere else. So this is your opportunity cost, and you were getting 5% over there. And in a nutshell, here in this development here, you're getting 8.9% over here. So this development overall is good. So in one snapshot, it is telling you that wherever you have an alternative investment opportunity, you're getting a better return in this investment property. So if I explain these things, the discounted cash flow tells you what the future cash flows are worth at a given rate of return, but that isn't necessarily how much you are going to pay for them. This is where we use NPV, and this is where NPV actually kicks in. And NPV, which is net present value, is the difference between the present value of all future cash flows and the amount of cash you invest to purchase those cash flows. Now, I'll say that again. NPV is the difference between the present value of all future cash flows and the amount of cash you invest to purchase those cash flows. And that is why it is called the net present value. So if you invest exactly the future cash flows are worth, so let's say whatever the future cash flow is bringing in, and that's exactly what you are investing in, at a given discount rate, then your investment is earning exactly that rate. So that means if whatever you are investing is bringing in the exact same amount, that means you're making 5% on it. That means whether you go with this opportunity or that opportunity, the other opportunity that you have, it's not going to make any difference. Now, if the present value of the cash flow is greater than the amount of your investment, you have a positive NPV, which is what you have in this scenario. That means you are getting in a positive net present value, which is a good thing. And which is another way of saying that you're really doing better than the specified return, because you're getting more than what you expected from your investment. So here, if this is coming on positive, that means you're making better than 5% that you were going to make in another investment. Now, if the present value of the cash flow is less than the amount of the investment, so let's say if this was a negative number, then you have a negative NPV, which basically means that you are not doing as well as the specified rate of return. So if this was negative, or zero, if your NPV comes out to zero, you can go with either whatever your alternative rate of return or your discount rate or wherever else your money is making 5%, you're making exactly the same if this is zero. If this is more than zero, that means you're making better return in this investment over here. And if this is less than zero, that means if NPV is coming out to be negative, that basically means that you are better off going with this other opportunity that you have rather than investing into this investment property. So that is what this is all about. So very closely related to this is your profitability index, which is more or less the same thing, but it is actually a ratio. So with profitability index, instead of finding the difference between present value and initial investment, you find the ratio between the present value and your initial investment so that you can compare two different properties. So as a thumb rule, always remember that profitability index of 1.0 means that you're making your exact rate of return that you are looking for. So whatever you've specified here, that's exactly what you're making. Anything more than that, that means you're making more than the investment return that you're going to make here. So in this scenario, as we know, that you are going to make more than the 5% return that you expected to, because your initial investment is only 190,000 in this. Everything else has come in as a debt. So that is what it's only comparing the initial cash investment. So it offers an advantage if you want to compare two different opportunities that require different initial investments, because the index is a ratio. It is not sensitive to the amount of investment. It tells you the proportion of dollars returned to dollars invested, rather than the actual amount. Okay, then the last thing in this section is internal rate of return, which is the same as your rate of return, which is your the amount of return that you're making. However, what you need to understand is that it takes into account IRR is the most used rate of return in real estate industry, because it takes into account the time. Because what is happening is that if you look here, you've got a monthly interest payment going out. So you've got interest costs, which is monthly. You might have made some extra payments, and there's also a principal that you have been paying over a period of time. So it's not like you paid 190,000 and then after 15 years you got back X amount. What happened here was that you were also paying some principal, and whatever money was outgoing and whatever interest was outgoing from your pocket, all that is taken into account. And when you get your money back, it's taking into account and telling you that you just made 8.9% of all the money that you invested over a period of time. You made 8.9% on it. So that is all there is to it. You don't have to geek out on this. If you want to geek out, I discuss internal rate of return in way more detail in the advanced feasibility training as well. So in the next video, we'll talk about ratios and capital gains.